So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the program.
Yeah.
Please welcome to the stage owner, Veterans Metal LLC, Andrew Kosowski.
Good morning. All right, here we go. I am so happy, and I gotta tell you, relieved to see your faces with two back-to-back hurricanes. My team were out of Clearwater, Florida, in the Tampa Bay area. I gotta tell you, we really dodged a bullet on that one. And I'm really happy. This morning, I was listening to the Weather Channel, and they're saying that the hurricane season is officially 72% done. So we still have maybe a couple left. 4 or 5 days are gonna be beautiful here in Orlando, so enjoy it. Now, of course, weather disruptions disrupt our businesses, and disruption is just another word for change. Change is inevitable. It's a force as constant as the sunrise shaping our lives in ways we can't predict. We can fear it, or we can learn to embrace it. My own life, as the stories of my parents, has been a testament to the power of embracing change. From the turmoil of war they faced and some small comparison, the business transformations that I navigated, one truth remains clear. Change is the crucible where resilience is forged. My parents' lives were forever marked by war and geopolitical upheavals. Their story serves as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable challenges. My father's childhood was a happy one. He lived in a cozy home in Warsaw, Poland with his family, but peace was shattered when the Nazis invaded Poland. His life as he knew it vanished, and the Nazis brought terror and destruction. Families were torn apart. My father, barely a teenager, was forced to confront the horrors of war and join the Polish underground resistance. He risked his life fighting for his country's freedom. Captured by the Nazis, he was imprisoned in a forced labor camp. Fear and the constant threat of death became his reality. Yet, even in the darkest depths of despair, his spirit never refused to be broken. He clung to hope, dreaming of a day that he would be free. 2 years later, the liberation by the Allies marked the end of his ordeal and the end of the war. My mother, on the other hand, her childhood was in Havana. With the rhythm of salsa music, the warmth of the Caribbean sun, she grew up in a loving family. They instilled in her the values of hard work, resilience, and kindness. She attended a bilingual school where she excelled in her studies, eventually becoming valedictorian. She became fluent both in Spanish and English, a skill that would be invaluable later in life. She was bright and a curious young woman and embraced the life with open arms. After the war, my father remained with what remained of his family in Caracas, Venezuela. They moved there. His first job was as tools warehouse assistant for the Chrysler Manufacturing Corporation, where he eventually became the plant manager and later joined the Chrysler Space Division in the manufacturing of Saturn V rockets for the Apollo missions. And a lot of people don't realize that Chrysler was not just in the car business, but they were also in the space business. They supported both the Mercury and Apollo programs. The only reason why Chrysler doesn't have a space division today is because they didn't win the design bid on the space shuttle. Otherwise, they'd be another SpaceX. But they didn't move that direction. They both worked for Chrysler at the time, my mother in Havana, Cuba, and my father in Caracas, Venezuela. Their paths crossed with a chance encounter that would change their lives forever. My father was doing a presentation, much like I'm doing one here, and my mother was attending that same presentation. At the end of it, while my mother was walking out, her heel broke. My dad said, "Wait a minute, I'll be right back." So he went to his booth at his convention, came back with a roll of tape, and taped her heel up. My mom asked, "What is that?" My dad said, "It's duct tape, invented by Johnson & Johnson in 1942. Of course, we all know that duct tape fixes everything, don't we? Now, of course, my dad at that point asked her on a date. My mom said, "Not without a chaperone." And those of you who are in Spanish families, especially a Cuban family, chaperone is required. And grandma filled that role. Over the time, they fell deeply in love, and while attending a company event at the Tropicana Hotel, there was listening to a new solo singer by the name of Nat King Cole, my dad proposed. But their love story began against the backdrop of a changing country, another change. The communist rebels led by Fidel Castro were taking over. On the eve of their wedding, all churches were ordered closed and the wedding had to be canceled. With their plans in disarray, my parents were forced to adapt once more with change. Since they could not be married and the plan is Cuba, they eventually tied the knot in Caracas. At the time, Caracas was the most prosperous city in Latin America, boasting a GDP of 80% of the United States. Venezuela, despite that, appeared to have a bright future. My parents made a prophetic decision not to remain in Venezuela. They chose to raise their family in the United States, a country that promised stability and opportunity. The decision proved to be wise because, as we all know, Venezuela's economic and political situation dramatically changed over the coming years. After 5 years in the United States, my parents proudly became U.S. citizens and began to raise their own family. The lessons they imparted for me were invaluable, teaching me and my sister to be prepared for the unexpected. They taught us that facing the unknown, however daunting, was always preferable to cling to the past that was already gone. Moving forward was the only way to thrive in an ever-changing world. As an adult, I'm in what I call my third version of myself. Andrew 1.0 was serving the United States Air Force, where I spent most of my time testing new equipment for the United States Air Force. The most significant for me was in the manufacturing of the C-17 aircraft that was originally being built by McDonnell Douglas, later acquired by Boeing, out of Long Beach, California. I had the good fortune of witnessing the first 6 aircraft built from the first rivet all the way through the first flight. Version 2.0 of myself was in the corporate world, in telecommunications, where I had the pleasure of leading teams across Latin America, Africa, and Asia. With these first 2 iterations of my own life has been marked with all forms of change. Frequent relocations to several countries, each move to an unknown, which meant adapting to new environments, new cultures, forging new connections. Each departure also brought challenges, and leaving behind familiar faces is never easy. Yet with each move came a fresh perspective, new experiences, and an opportunity to reinvent myself. I learned that change, while sometimes disruptive, is also a powerful engine for growth and self-discovery. And now, most recent version, Andrew 3.0, is a business owner. 4 years ago, my wife and I purchased a 27-year-old, completely manual, completely analog metal finishing company and embarked on its total transformation, which was a journey not just about changing the physical space, but also about redefining the business. This is a moment where I needed to share that change. We need to recognize sometimes the excitement in the heart may be driving change more than what's in our head. There's where mentors come in and have been a valuable tool in my life. I can count on one hand how many people have been mentors in my life. One such person was my brother-in-law, Neil Leach, who sadly passed away last month. He was a very successful businessman. He started 3 manufacturing plants in his 20s and his 30s. One was in the manufacturing of diamond drill bits. Another one was in abrasives, bead blasts that we use today in all our businesses, and also in developing manufacturing of optical lenses. All very successful and all led to acquisitions that he and my sister over 30 years did. Apart from the countless advice he gave me, one mantra that he lived by and that I followed was to take advantage of opportunities with substantial calculated risks. And I used that in the acquisition of this new company. The company my wife and I acquired had many calculated risks. While possessing solid bones, it was stuck in its ways, clinging to outdated methods and practices, and with outdated equipment, inefficient processes, and a lack of technology and adoption were holding it back. As an example, and those of you who have manual shops, completely analog, when do you know something is wrong? You know it's wrong when it breaks, right? And that's the worst case scenario to be in. We decided we didn't want to be in that scenario. We wanted to digitize our shop 100%. The only thing that I brought from the old facility was people. No equipment. Not one scrap of equipment was brought over. It was either recycled, sold, or dumped. And we digitized the entire shop. Another example is I didn't want to go through the paper and pencil pushing of doing audits. Those of you who have NADCAP audits or AS9100, I didn't want to deal with that. So I digitized that entire process. So when my auditor comes, he spends 10% of the time pushing buttons, downloading the reports that are automatically digitally captured, and the other 80% talking about his family. And that's fine. That's less disruptive for my team. But that's what I wanted for this new shop, this total transformation. The vision was clear. In order to breathe new life into the enterprise, we need to completely change the business and transform it into a modern metal finishing shop. This meant investing in cutting-edge technology, streamlining operations, and fostering a culture of innovation. It was a daunting undertaking filled with obstacles and uncertainties, but yet we as a team were energized with the changes ahead of us. The potential success kept us motivated every single day. As the leader, I had the responsibility to keep my team constantly informed and get their input. I did not want to do this in a box. Why? Because I wanted their buy-in. I wanted them to adopt to this new technology. The path to transformation was not without obstacles. Securing permits for the new building and equipment proved to be a bureaucratic labyrinth. Finding reliable suppliers that could meet our new quality standards took time and persistence. Reducing incremental project costs where we could do our own sweat equity. Installing new technology also meant bridging generational gaps. My youngest employee is 23, my oldest is 62. The younger ones adapted quickly to using iPads and QR code scanners. The older members of the team were worried about it, but then soon found out that it was very user-friendly because I made sure that I selected something that was user-friendly and didn't require a PhD to understand. And we persevered. We celebrated each milestone from our setbacks and never lost sight of our vision. But slowly the company became to transform. We implemented a digital and paperless metal finishing system, introduced QR code scanning technology for quality control, and it was a total success. Productivity increased, our reputation for quality went up, innovation for growth, along with our revenue going up. Change is inspirational. Looking back, I'm struck how much easier my challenges were compared to those of my parents. They had to adapt to a world that was constantly changing beneath their feet. They navigated the upheavals of war and revolution, while I grappled with permits and supply chains. Their struggles were monumental, yet they persevered. Their resilience in the face of unimaginable adversity continues to inspire me today. It reminds me that no obstacle is insurmountable if we face it with courage and tenacity. Their legacy, along with my own experience, has taught me that change is not something to be feared, but to be embraced. It is through change that we find new ways to innovate and improve. It is the catalyst for growth, the engine of progress, the source of endless possibilities. Change challenges us to think differently, to find better solutions. By embracing change, we open ourselves up to a world of opportunities and unlock true potential. Now, my father pictured here, this is when in his early 30s, and he was a plant manager at Chrysler. He loved new technology. I remember as a young boy when the first cell phone came out, and he was the first one to get one. I remember him buying a desktop computer. It was an HP 386 with 100 megabytes of hard drive space. He got one right away. And of course, that modem that made that funky sound, right? That we all remember. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you with something that he would have loved. He would have loved AI and the possibilities with AI. So the last words today, I'm going to leave you with my dad, an AI version of my dad.
You're all here for some sort of change. It could be a change in technology, a change in services, or just a simple change of scenery. I hope the stories that my son told you here today will be your fuel for your own personal journey of change while you attend FabTech 2024. Because my friends, change is inevitable. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.